Well, good morning, everyone. My name is MightyStream. Today is November the 7th. I'm going to do your Just for Today in a meditation. I'm brought to you by Hope Through Navigation, and this is our Hood Recovery Services. You can reach me at recoveryofhope21@gmail.com. And be sure to check the description for some highly recommended NA meetings that I make on the Zoom platform. You can enjoy those at any time. Okay, let's go ahead and get into the meditation. Feeling God's Will, November 7th. I sincerely believe that a higher power could restore my sanity and that I would stop trying to figure out what God's will was. Just accept things for what they were and be grateful. The longer we stay clean, the less surely we know what our higher power's will for us is, and the less it matters. Knowledge of our higher power's will becomes less a knowing thing and more a feeling thing. We still practice the 11th step faithfully. But rather than look for signs from our higher power, we begin to rely more on our intuition, trusting our feelings about what will make us comfortable. After staying clean a few years, what we do seem to know is when we are acting against God's will for us. When we are going against God's will, we get that old uncomfortable feeling in our gut. That queasiness is a warning that if we continue in this direction, ahead lie many sleepless nights. We need to pay attention to such feelings, for they are often signals that we are acting contrary to our higher power's will for us. Our 11th step clearly states the true goal of prayer and meditation: improvement of our conscious contact with the God of our understanding, bringing us clearer knowledge of our higher power's will for us, and the power to carry it out. We know God's will most clearly by how it feels, not by signs or words. And it feels right. Just for today, I will pray for the knowledge of my higher power's will for me and the power to carry it out. I will pay attention to my feeling and act when they feel right. Let's take a moment of silence, followed by the we version of the Serenity Prayer, please. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things that we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Just for today, please and thank you. I love this because I believe feeling God's will is an important part of our development, in the sense that what we do know is that when we are not acting according to God's will, that there is something called a conscience, and our conscience will bother us, right? Or it bothers me. I don't know about you, but my conscience will bother me. And oftentimes I find myself in prayer asking God, help me to be able to sense or discern direction from you. Because a lot of times, so much is going on, it's very difficult to settle my insides down long enough and quiet enough so that I'm able to sense the direction or sense what's going on and sense how I need to respond. So a lot of times I make it a part of my regular prayer. Not a lot of times, every day. I can say every day I'm praying that God would help me to discern more, right, of His will for me. That God would give me direction and I will be able to perceive it. You ever drive through town? I just drove from here to Iowa and back. It seemed like the longest trip. Only time I remember something seeming more difficult was driving I had made a road trip to Oregon and stopped in Colorado. And that trip from Colorado back to Michigan was by far the worst trip I've ever driven. It takes a long time to drive when you're already tired, and to be perceptive enough that you're tired is really a gift of life. And sometimes you will rest at a rest stop, get back on the road only to find out that you are so exhausted and so tired that you can barely even get to the next exit. But isn't it a gift, the individual that has that self-awareness to know that they are just simply exhausted and that they need to drive in increments, sometimes increments as low as 15 to 30 minutes at a time, and get off the road or get a room and just sleep until you're ready to take back off, right? And life is like that. Life is just like that. We're on a journey. We're on the road of life. And we understand that things may come up that we didn't expect. The weather may change, right? So what season would that be? Um, we're on the road of life and our significant other passes away from COVID-19 complications, or just has a heart attack and we lose them, or decides to take their will back, goes back out and use, and they overdose and no one is there to help them. So they die, right? That's a life change. That's a season change. Things were going along and now here comes the storm. When you are able to trust your instincts, when you're able to have intuition about this life's journey that you're on, it mostly comes from intimacy with your higher power and being able to feel your higher power's will for you and understand that in that moment, you're not operating on self-will. You're not needing to force yourself to stay awake, but your higher power has this power and the strength and the strategy that you actually need and can give it to you. When sometimes not even when you ask, or in spite of whether or not you ask, I should say, but definitely when you ask. But some of us, our lives, our day-to-day life is so clouded with all of this extra stuff. Do this, do that, say this, be that, look like this, look like that. Don't say that with this group of people, say it with this group of people, and hope that those two groups of people never collide, right? Some of our lives are so cloudy that it's difficult to truly be able to say that we have an 11th step in our lives. We want the knowledge, right, of what God's will is. the strength or the power to carry it out. But there should also be a peace that is deeply spiritual between you and your higher power. No one else, where you understand or you feel what needs to be done. Some of us have never operated that way. The feelings were head level, not gut level, not heart level. The feelings that we operated on were head level thoughts, actually. And a lot of times it was negative, but that's not who you are today. You're not that person anymore. Today you can pray the 11th step prayer and ask for knowledge of God's will, your higher power's will, and the power to carry it out. But even when you do that, there's still the receiving end of that answer. And if you're too busy or too cloudy in your day-to-day life to receive the message or the indication or the code or the answer, whatever you want to call it, right? The email, if you're too busy to even open it up and see what it says, you're not going to have that level of comfort of knowing God's will and feeling God's will. You're not going to have it because you've become completely too cloudy, or your signal is confusing. You ever have, when you're driving across country and you're listening to a radio station that you really, really like, and then you seem to go into another area, drive so far, and you can no longer reach that tower. That signal can no longer reach you. You're out of its range. And it starts with missing some of the words. There's some static in there. And you have to hit scan again to find another radio station, or you might try to manually tune back into the station you just lost, only to find out that you're out of range. And you have to find something else that you like. That's how it can be when our lives are too complicated, too full of other stuff, other people's energy that has absolutely nothing to do with us. Right? The signal can be coming in, but we get so far out of range that we can't receive it. But if you go back to the boundaries of that communication, right, which would be quietness, stillness, decluttering your house and your life, right? If you go back to that, you'll find the signal is always there. And that's how we have to be about our lives. No matter how far we go, keep a clean signal, right? Keep a clear signal, not a clean one too. It really does apply. But keep a clear signal where we can always receive what is being sent to us in answer to our prayers. And a lot of times it only comes through meditation and being willing to practice that. My name is MightyStream. I've enjoyed talking to you today. I'm going to be talking to you soon again with the other meditation, spiritual principle day. Hope you have a beautiful day on purpose.